My aim always had been in publishing to create brands of trust.
You have now, during your professional career, but also now, still very intensely worked with books. So can you imagine a life without books, without publishing?
Yes.
Or let's ask vice versa. Why is publishing so important? Why are you still doing this?
Because I think you learn a lot when you publish. You learn a lot about people, you learn a lot about subjects, you learn a lot about changing materials, you learn a lot about new techniques in publishing, you learn how to do books with ChatGPT. So there's always, up to now, it never had been boring because there were always new exciting possibilities to work with books and with people.
Mm-hmm. And where do you get your visions and ideas from?
Most of the time I get them from reading. But I'm reading a lot of magazines, I'm reading a lot of journals, I'm reading social sciences, art, and then I try to build bridges and transfer ideas. So for instance, a long time ago, when we had to launch a little membership journal for the GDCH division of Chemieunterricht, education. I wanted to do something special, and I was looking for designers, for book designers, and there was, for instance, a famous person who just had written or designed a book on kitchens. And this was published with Ernst & Sohn, a subsidiary from us, from Wiley-VCH or from VCH in Berlin. And the layout was about the new Frankfurter kitchen. And it was layouted by Otel Eicher. And Otel Eicher is a well-known German designer, Ulm school. And so he had what he called, for instance, the Wäscheleinen design. So you have a layout that you have a line on top of the page, and then you have your columns. And then they are flying in the wind. And so I proposed German chemists to make this magazine with this layout. I convinced them, but when I when I changed my position, they went back because they wanted to fill all empty paper, empty space, and so the layout was gone. But
it was an experiment.
It was an experience, and that's how I try to combine, to bring elements from art journals, art magazines, or art catalogs to chemistry books.
Mm-hmm. So who are heroes for you in chemical history?
Christoph Meinl, I would say, is a hero, or John Rock, for instance.
Why are they heroes?
Because they have created a lot of really valuable historical information and historical connections between chemistry and the time the chemists they had been studying lived in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What keeps you motivated in the things you're doing?
Currently, I'm motivated because I think that we are creating a value, a time document. And my aim always had been in publishing to create brands of trust. And so I did so these are completely different brands, and I wanted to have a look whether I could, taking the best of two worlds. So wonderful books on one side, but completely electronic on the other side. So, and I would like to have this as a brand, seen and perceived by the chemical community as a brand. And if you want to read an autobiography or learn a bit about chemistry, inorganic chemistry in the 70s or 80s or 90s, and the people behind, then you trust this book series.
Okay, and that means you're always seeing the larger picture, so your project is not...
Yes, I don't want... I was watching the market, and the market is mostly that, and that happened also with myself. I published during my career kind of autobiographies and biographies, but these were always one time. And most publishing houses publish one-time books like that. And I wanted to create again, there was one example, the ACS example, pathways, profiles, pathways and dreams. I wanted to create a new modern version of that, a global new modern version of that.
Mm. Is there a project you would still like to follow up, but you haven't yet because you have never time or because of other things?
Yes, there are quite a few projects. I always have dreams. But I think the dearest project I have, and I think this is still important, is an international edition of this book. And this is, the GDCH had commissioned that book. It says Chemists in the Third Reich. And it was printed and commissioned by Helmut Meyer, a science historian, but it was published only in German. And I think it would be very good to have it in English, an international version. And during the past decade, a lot more information was gathered. And this should also find its place in the archives, because behind every information there was a chemist and a human being. And I think it's worth to document that. Also, that things like that don't happen again.
But as you said earlier on, that we don't have enough time to read really books. And maybe in society at the moment we are looking at what is currently happening, because we're looking at our social media feed or something very fast with new information. So are we losing kind of a bit of knowledge about our history?
Yes, I think that's the case. On the other side, there are many fiction books about the history. And there are many books, and I think also chemists like reading about the history of Europe or the history of East Germany and the history of slavery and these things. The thing is just that you should connect it more with chemistry. What happened in chemistry and why happened this in chemistry when World War I started and happened? Why these? How had medical diseases been cured with chemistry, with drugs? There's a lot of chemistry in this, and I think you just have to make a bit more the connection between general history, also the grant proposals. Look, for instance, at peer review. Peer review, which is very important in publishing, was invented when the US invested a lot of money in very important political programs, to go to the moon, to the Cold War, and all of a sudden the Chemical American Society spent a lot of money on science. But they didn't know, the politicians didn't know, what do we really need? And then they had to send out these proposals and make the decisions what they support to experts. And that's the beginning of peer review. Well, I think it's very important that the chemical societies are community building. And also, I think it is important that the chemical societies speak up and help chemists to become part of progress, of solving challenges we have, be it in health, be it in fighting glyphosate or PFAS, eternity chemicals, and I think there the chemical society can create much more impact than individuals or single chemistry departments, and also, you know, to find to make chemistry attractive for young people. I think the chemical societies also can help to bridge between the ever deeper silos, because when you are competitively researching in a certain silo, then it's difficult to find what the other silos are doing, and so I think bridge building is also very important for chemical societies, within chemical societies, and of course to physics, to medical sciences, and so on, agricultural, food, everything.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.